All right, let's dive into this Houston Astros scandal, huh? We've got some really interesting stuff to unpack here.
Yeah, definitely a deep dive.
You guys gave us some great material to work with, like some excerpts from Evan Drellick.
Oh, the guy who broke the story?
Exactly. He wrote that article for The Athletic and really gets into like all the details.
Yeah, he really lays it all out there.
So the Astros, they won the World Series in 2017, but then like everyone started talking about this cheating.
Yeah, the rumors were swirling.
And we're going to like really go back to the beginning before they even won.
Like way back.
Drellick actually talks about how the Astros were intentionally losing games. Can you believe that?
Oh, yeah, the tanking strategy. Basically, they lost on purpose for a few seasons so they could get, better draft picks later.
It's a long game, but I guess it can work.
Yeah, if you draft well, it can really pay off in the end.
And that's what the Astros did, right? They brought in Jeff Luhnow. He was their general manager, and he was all about the data.
Super data-driven guy.
He like totally changed how the team operated.
Drellick actually described him as, like, charismatic, but also super intense, like almost a adapt or die kind of mentality.
Oh, wow. It makes you wonder if that kind of thinking, while it obviously worked for them in some ways, also maybe led them to like cross some lines.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, where do you draw the line,
It's interesting, because back then I was covering the Astros for the Houston Chronicle, and man, they were so secretive.
Really?
Yeah, anything even remotely critical, even if it was just like what other teams were saying about them, they would just shut it down.
Wow. So you saw this whole culture developing firsthand.
Yeah, totally. So before we get into the actual scandal, let's talk about what was considered like normal sign stealing back then.
Okay, so in 2017, if you were a runner on second base, you were allowed to try and like figure out the catcher signs, just using your eyes.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's always been part of the game. It's like a mental battle between the players. But using technology to steal signs, that was totally off limits.
Gotcha. But then things get a little murky, right? Because in 2014, Major League Baseball started using those replay rooms.
Oh, right. And that kind of backfired in a way,
Yeah, because teams started realizing they could use that video footage, which was meant for like reviewing calls, to study the other team's signs instead.
Yeah, even though it was against the rules, the temptation was definitely there. You've got this technology right there in front of you.
So lines were already kind of blurred. And then you have the Astros with their whole data-driven approach, always pushing things further.
They were all about finding an edge, it seems.
Exactly. And Drellick talks about this spreadsheet they made called Codebreaker, which they were using at first just for like pre-game analysis.
Yeah, spreadsheet, huh?
Yeah, it's crazy how something so simple can become like the center of this whole scandal.
I know, right? It's like, who knew a spreadsheet could be so scandalous?
And then there was these two coaches, Alex Cora and Carlos Beltran, who were really pushing to be even more aggressive.
They really wanted to take it to the next level.
And the moment they really crossed the line was when they installed a live feed monitor in the tunnel by their dugout.
Oh, wow. So they could see everything in real time.
It's wild. Drellick actually saw this monitor himself, which is how he started figuring everything out.
That's some serious investigative journalism right there.
And what they did with that monitor is what really separated them from other teams that were, maybe doing a little sign stealing here and there.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What did they do?
So someone would be watching that live feed, they'd figure out the signs, and then they'd bang on a trash can to tell the batter what pitch was coming.
Seriously, a trash can?
I know, right? It's like something out of a movie.
You've got to be kidding me. A trash can.
It's crazy. And unlike those other teams that were using the replay rooms to get info to runners on base, this didn't even need a runner.
So they could do it on every play.
Yeah, it was totally off field, which is why it became such a big deal.
Yeah, that's taking it way too far. I mean, at that point, it's not even baseball anymore.
Exactly. It's like they were playing with cheat codes.
Totally. It completely undermines the whole point of the game.
Absolutely. So stay with us, because in the next part, we're going to talk about how this whole thing blew up and the fallout from the scandal.
I can't wait to hear it. This is just getting good.
Like, imagine you're the batter and you already know what pitch is coming. That's just insane.
No kidding. It takes all the skill and strategy out of it.
Totally. So how did this all come out? Drellick's journey to expose this is like a whole other story.
Oh, yeah. He had to, jump through a lot of hoops. He first heard whispers of it back in 2018, but then he lost his job. And it wasn't until he went to The Athletic that he could really dive in, and do the real investigative work.
And it takes guts to go after a story like that,
Yeah.
especially in baseball,
Yeah, you don't want to be the guy who rats out the whole team.
Right, exactly. And that's where Mike Fiers comes in.
Mm.
He was a pitcher for the Astros, and he's the one who finally confirmed everything, like on the record.
Yeah, Fire's testimony was huge. He wasn't just some, like, disgruntled player. He actually cared about, the integrity of the game.
It must have been a tough decision for him, though.
Oh, for sure. He got a lot of flack for it, people calling him a snitch and all that. But he did the right thing. I mean, can you imagine the pressure?
Absolutely. But, this is something I found interesting. The Astros weren't the only ones using technology to steal signs, right?
You're right. Drellick mentioned the Red Sox, the Yankees, even the Dodgers. Like, they were all doing it to some extent.
But the Astros, they were doing something different.
Yeah, like a way worse. The other teams were mostly using the replay rooms to, like, help the runners on base. Still cheating, obviously. But it wasn't as bad as what the Astros were doing.
Because there was still some element of, like, the game being played naturally.
Exactly. But the Astros, they took it completely off the field.
So it wasn't even about skill anymore. It was just knowing what was coming.
Right. It was just like pure cheating, no strategy, no risk, just guaranteed hits.
So what happened to the Astros once the scandal broke?
Oh, man, they got slammed. Fined $5 million, lost draft picks. Their manager, A.J. Hench, got suspended for a whole year.
Wow.
And Jeff Luhnow, the general manager, he got fired, along with Alex Cora and Carlos Beltran, the coaches.
So, like, everyone involved, basically.
Pretty much. But a lot of people thought the players should have been punished, too.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
They got immunity for cooperating with the investigation, which caused a lot of controversy.
Yeah, people thought it was unfair that they got off scot-free.
Exactly. Because
Right.
ultimately, they were the ones benefiting from the cheating.
So what did the players say about all this?
They said they felt pressured to win and that they thought other teams were doing it too. Basically, just trying to justify their actions.
But that doesn't really fly, does it? Just because everyone else is doing it doesn't make it right.
Exactly. It's like a kid saying, but Mom, everyone else is doing it. Doesn't really work.
And can you imagine how the other teams felt? Especially the Dodgers, since they lost to the Astros in the World Series that year.
Oh, they were furious, and rightfully so. They felt cheated out of a championship.
Yeah, totally. This whole thing just really messed with, like, the integrity of the game,
Absolutely. It made people question everything they were watching. Like, are these guys really this good, or are they cheating?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
after all this went down, did Major League Baseball do anything to, like, prevent it from happening again?
Yeah, they brought in some new rules, like teams have to use wristbands now to signal pitches.
Okay, so no more, like, elaborate signs that could be stolen.
Right. And they limited how much teams can use video during games.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
It feels like kind of closing the barn door after the horse is already bolted.
Yeah, definitely. The damage was already done.
And it makes you wonder, like, can you ever really stop cheating in sports? Or anywhere, really? Yeah, it makes you think, like, is there always going to be this temptation to, like, bend the rules, push things a little too far?
Well, I think it says something about human nature, right? We all want to win, sometimes maybe a little too much.
Yeah, and technology just makes it, like, way easier to cheat. It's like a whole new set of tools.
Totally. And it's evolving so fast, like, can the rules even keep up? It's like an arms race. Someone's always going to be trying to find a new way to exploit the system.
Drellick actually talks about this in his book, like how this scandal really hurt the fans, makes you question everything you see.
For sure. Like, are these guys really this talented, or are they just cheaters? It takes away the magic of the game.
It's like you can't even trust what you're watching anymore.
Exactly. It's a loss of innocence almost. And once that trust is gone, it's really hard to get it back.
So what do we do? What did we learn from all this?
Well, I think it shows that, like, even the people we admire, they can make bad choices. When the pressure's on, it can be really hard to do the right thing.
It's a reminder that, like, winning isn't everything. It's about how you play the game.
Absolutely. And that's not just in baseball. It's in life, too,
Yes.
It's about your values, your integrity, what you're willing to sacrifice.
That's a good point. We've only, like, scratched the surface of this whole story today, but
Well,
hopefully this deep dive gave you guys something to think about.
yeah, definitely a lot to unpack here.
If you want to learn more, you should definitely check out Drellick's book, Winning Fixes Everything. It really digs into, like, the whole culture of baseball, how we got to this point.
It's a great read, very insightful.
And we'd love to hear your thoughts too, What do you guys think about all this? How has technology changed the way we think about cheating? Hit us up in the comments. Let's have a discussion. Until next time.